Hello coders, welcome to another How to Code Well Symfony tutorial. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to debug your routes using the command line and the Symfony console. Let's get into the code. In the Git repository under tutorials in tutorial_8, we have our user controller inside the src and controller folder. This has three routes. We've got /user ID, /user ID edit, and /ID delete. But imagine this application is really large and you've got many routes that you need to debug and work out which route you're going to be using in your application. There are a number of ways we can debug and pull out the configuration of our routes using the Symfony console. So if you open up the terminal, the first way I'm going to demonstrate is how to actually list all of the routes that you have in your system. If you type php bin /console and then debug router, we will debug the router component of Symfony. And once you press enter, you'll see a table of all the routes that you have in your application. We've got app_user_index, app_user_edit, and app_user_delete. We have all the methods that these routes use. So for example, the index uses the get, the delete uses the delete method. We also have the path as well as the scheme and the host. We also have this route above, which is the _preview_error. That is the standard error preview screen. And that goes to /_error / and then the code. So for example, 404 and then dot and then the format that we want to display that within. This table by default will not show the controllers that are associated to these routes. We can find that out by using the --show -controllers argument of the debug router command. If we press enter here, we can now see that we have that table that we had before, but we now have a column for controllers. So we can see the error controller goes to error_controller : preview, whereas the user controller is used for the user routes. We can also see the aliases of our routes, and we would use the --show -aliases argument of the debug router command. And this lists out all of the aliases for each of the routes. But let's say, for instance, you want to discover the configuration that makes up a single route. Maybe you know the address. To do that, we would use the router : match command, and we would supply the path that we would like to match. So in this case, we're going to match a route that has the pattern of /user / and then 10, which means that we're going to hopefully return the app_user_index route, because that should match the /user /ID parameter. So if I press enter here, we're actually going to get far more configuration than we had before. The first line of the output says a route app_user_index matches. We can then see the properties and their values against the route, including the path and the path regular expression that is used. We can also see the requirements, where we have the parameter and the pattern that the requirement needs to match. And we can see the method, the defaults as well, and various options. If a route doesn't match, so for example, if I use the /user /test path, that should give me an error, which it does, saying none of the routes match the path /user /test. What is very useful about the router match command is that if the path that you supply doesn't match, then sometimes we get an almost matches result. So here it's saying that the route app_user_index almost matches, but the requirement for the ID does not match the \d. So we can use the router match command as a means of fuzzy searching almost which routes are being used at any one time. And we can supply certain arguments to the router match command. So for example, if I wanted to find the routes that match the method of post against the path of /user/10 and then edit, if I press enter here, we're going to get the app_user_edit root. And there are other arguments that we can supply to the router match command. If I was to remove the arguments that we're passing and supply the argument of --help, we can actually see the help info of this command. So we use the --method argument to set the HTTP method, but we can also set things like the scheme and the host to check whether or not it's HTTP or HTTPS, and also we can set the host URI. And below we can see an example of how we want to match /foo, where the method is post, the scheme is HTTPS, and the host is symfony.com. We can also supply a verbose argument to increase the output that we have. The root debugger and the root matching command are very useful when you want to debug your roots in Symfony, and I highly recommend that you learn how to use these tools. If you found this tutorial helpful, then please let me know. Give it a thumbs up, share it around to those who might find it useful too. Take a look at all the courses and the tutorials available at howtocodewell.net, and whilst you're there, consider subscribing to get the future tutorials coming up. Happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again in the next Symfony tutorial.